Well, what is the GAIJIN50 PLUS podcast? What does that mean? You might ask yourself. I've been living in Japan since 1969, which is over 50 years. So there's the 50 plus. And I am a gaijin, in case you didn't notice. And on this podcast, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to give you a look, an unvarnished look of what it's really like to live in Japan. I want to give you an idea of Japan that is unscripted, unrehearsed, and unfiltered. So I'm not going to be trying to make all kinds of fancy graphics or animations or things like that. And I'm not going to try to go through and edit the audio and try to make it perfect and eliminate all the gaps and all the ums and all the ahs. When I have something to say, I turn on the camera and turn on my microphone, hit record, and let you have it. And so just going to sit down and let the conversation take us where it may. Like I said, I've been here since 1969. I've been here in Japan through a lot. When I first got to Japan, Japan was basically a third world country. It was a really interesting place back then. The Shinkansen only ran between Tokyo and Osaka. An American dollar was worth 360 yen. So since I was being paid in dollars, I felt like a rich man. Everything was very cheap, relatively. And Japanese people were, like kind of third world people. It was very quaint. It was interesting. They were very interested in gaijins. Where I was down in Fukuoka, you'd be walking down the street and little kids would point and say, "Oh, gaijin, gaijin." That doesn't happen anymore. At least it doesn't happen to me. Back then, there were no McDonald's, no KFCs. There were no convenience stores. There were no high-tech toilets. In fact, the toilets back then were pretty much no-tech. Down in Fukuoka, where I lived, a lot of places didn't even have flush toilets. When you had to go to use the toilet, you had to take the cover off and use the toilet and put the cover back on. There was no such thing as a washlet. Yeah, those were the days, huh? And now, Japan, I don't think you can go, even the public toilets have washlets. It's a totally different world, for better and for worse. Japanese people themselves have changed a lot. They have gone through a lot, as I have. There's been the Nixon shock, the dollar shock, the oil shock, and every other kind of shock you can imagine. There was a great economic surge, culminating in the so-called bubble economy, that during which people had so much money they were running around, throwing it around almost like it was water. And then there was the bubble burst. And I think just recently the stock market recovered and set new records that were set during the bubble. I mean, the bubble was, 40 years ago? And the stock market has just recently recovered from it. However, don't think that the Japanese economy is in a bubble era right now. As we'll talk about sometime during this podcast, the Japanese economy, though not bad, is not that great either, especially for your normal run-of-the-mill people. So why do I want to start a podcast at this age, at this point of my life? Why do I want to start a podcast here on YouTube? Well, mainly it's because of all the baloney that's being posted online and being publicized on websites, in news sites, and everywhere else about Japan. You have people making claims about Japan that are just untrue. Some of them are kind of based in true, but embellished in such a way that they're falsehoods. And there have been a number of times where I've seen an article like that and gone down in the comments and said, well, this is fake news, and had people come after me. No, you don't know what you're talking about. That's the way it is in Japan. I know, I live there. And then I try to explain why what they are saying is or what they are thinking is untrue. And generally it works. Generally people back off. I had one discussion that went on for weeks and weeks, but that was more of a mathematics, a discussion about percentages more than anything else. Maybe I'll talk about that one of these days. But there's so much, so many foreigners are coming here as tourists these days and to work, and everybody has a camera on their iPhone or their phone, their smartphone. And so people are taking pictures, and you say, well, this is the way it is in Japan, when it's not. So I'm going to be going into that. I'll be trying to correct some of these mischaracterizations of Japan. What do I mean by mischaracterization? Well, in general, if I had to put it in general, some people try to make Japan look like Disneyland, like it's this wonderful little country populated by these wonderful little people that are almost inhuman in their honesty and their cleanliness and their politeness and their way of doing things. I've seen all kinds of stories about Japanese ingenuity only in Japan, talking about technology that was developed in Germany. And so I'll talk about this. And I may talk about general Japanese news, some interesting things that I find interesting. I may tell you about what has happened to me over the years, what I have experienced, and maybe I'll talk about some personal things. Why did I come here? Why did I stay here for all this time? But at no time ever think that I am Japan bashing or criticizing Japan too much, because I don't bash Japan. I like Japan. I love Japan. I've been here all this time. That's one way of proving that I love it here so much. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else, even in my own home country. So, but there are things that Japan deserves to be criticized about. Japan is not a perfect place. I used to have a relatively popular blog and podcast, and people would ask me questions about Japan, and I'd always say the same thing. Japan is a place populated by human beings. And like any other place in the world that is populated by human beings, there is good, there is bad, there is beautiful, there is ugly. I have met salt of the earth people here. I have met absolute scum of the earth people here. There are people who are breathtakingly honest. There are people who are bone-crushingly dishonest. There are people who are wonderfully polite. There are people who are so impolite that it's jarring. Like I said, there is the whole entire gamut of human positive and negatives that you'll find anywhere else. You'll find them in Japan. Of course, it is spiced and colored differently by the architecture, by the things that you see, by the things that you hear, by the music, by the culture in general, that will make you sometimes overlook some of the bad points, or make you not notice them as much as you do in your own country. Because in your own country, you understand everything, especially the language. You come to Japan, you don't understand the language, you don't understand 90% of what's going on around you. So you think, oh, it's so peaceful here. I don't hear everybody complaining about everything like they do back home. When in fact, they do, but just you don't understand it, so you don't think they are complaining about it. But we'll get into that in detail. I'll try to give you as much context as impossible. And like I said, unscripted, unrehearsed, unfiltered. I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think I know. And I'll tell you what I believe. Now, that's not to say I am not going to claim that I know everything about Japan and that I am infallible about my knowledge of Japan. However, like I said, I'll tell you my opinion and my views and my experiences. If you think that my opinion is wrong, or my view is skewed, or that my opinion is wrong, let me know. And I'll either defend what I'm saying, or who knows, you might change my mind. Or you may know more than I do, and I'll accept your comment as new knowledge and incorporate it into my knowledge, and who knows, change my mind, If you have anything to say, put it down in the comments below or send me an email. I think I'll put my email in the show notes, and I'll be happy to respond either personally or as part of a video. If you have a Japan-centered video or some Japan-centered project or anything like that, let me know and I'll help you publicize it. Right now, however, it won't get publicized much because I don't have any subscribers. As I post this, I have exactly 0 subscribers. So if you want to become or want to try to become my first subscriber, give it a click. And who knows, someday in the future, after this wonderful channel takes off and I start making tons of money and I become very snooty and looking down at everybody, you'll have these bragging rights. You'll say, hey, man, that dude, I was his first subscriber back in the day. And who knows, maybe I'll make these certificates, the first 10 subscribers. But anyway, like I said, it's wide open right now. So if you feel like you might want to come back, give it a click. And I'll see you soon.